I confess I'm a mess and I'm just trying to figure life out. Can't believe what you see in this world, it'll feed your doubt. And I've tried on my own, but we weren't meant to do it alone. So come with me, together we'll get free. I confess I'm broken, but I found someone who's making me whole. And what if honesty could be the key? I confess I'm desperate, looking for a place to call home. And if honesty with me could be my key, then with truth I'll lead. And if honesty with me will be my key, then with truth I'll lead. Welcome to the couch.
Hi, Saints and friends. Welcome back to another episode of Couch Confessions, where together you and I will seek safety and find freedom in accepting and admitting our humanity as we navigate life and explore purpose. Welcome to the couch. I hope you guys have been well. I hope you are having a good week. It's Wednesday, hump day. Also, it's March, third month of the year, end of the first quarter. We're almost there. Hope your goals are going well. Mine, we probably need to do a check-in because, wow, we move fast. January happens very slowly, and then it's like off to the races. We're in March. February is always a quick one. I had a birthday. Woo-woo. I am now 27 years old. That is crazy. And what's crazier is ever since I saw this on TikTok, I can't unhear it. And I don't know why I didn't think about this at first in my mind, because it's like, duh, you don't turn 0, you turn 1. But basically the TikTok was about when you have your birthday, you're celebrating the fact that you just lived your 27th year of life, or whatever birthday year you're turning. Not that you're about to celebrate, not that you're about to enter your 27th year, but you just lived your 27th year. And obviously, right, when she said it, I was like, oh, duh, but I just didn't think about it that way. So I feel like it definitely changes the perspective around celebrating birthdays. It's very much given, I am still here, and it's by the grace of God. Oh, thank you. That's what it gives. Because, woo, special appreciation for the years that you live, because number one, the world is just crazy. And number two, sometimes, I'm not crazy, but sometimes it gives that. So grateful to still be amongst the living. And I believe, that Bible says, I will see his goodness in the land of the living. Even though things are crazy and wild, I believe he's cooking up something real special just for me. So yes, I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are doing great. Because we're just in this thing. And today I want to talk to you guys about something that irks my nerves really bad, real bad. I mean, real bad. And that is the process. And, everyone always says, trust the process. I'm trusting the process. Woo. Well, I'm going to be really honest with you. I have a confession. In fact, I hate the process. I don't like it. I don't like it in any shape, form, or fashion. And I do fear that is going to be my downfall because it's really inevitable. It's unavoidable. Everything, there's processes and processing and literally everything we do, from the most basic things transactional things that we do in everyday life to who we become and those more internal development things, to like biological things and things that happen in our body. If you think about giving birth, like that is a process that happens. If you think about baking or cooking something, it goes through a process. It doesn't just, I mean, I guess you could just put something in the microwave and that would be but that's still a process. You have to heat it. So like you can't escape processes. They're everywhere. They are in everything. But unfortunately for me, I really don't like the process. And so I know that it's unavoidable. I know that you cannot escape it, but still, it is just, it's hard. And I don't like it. And I know that I need to like it, but I don't. And I think that part of the reason why it's the process is not something that I enjoy is because I'm impatient. And I mean really impatient. And that is something that I've been trying to work on for a good little while now, is my patience. Because wow, I just want to get there already. And then I think there's sometimes is that piece of like feeling like you're missing out on something because you're not there already, or that it's gonna miss you because you're not there already. It's just, impatience is a big thing. I think the other reason why it's hard for me to trust the process is this whole idea that like you've been burned too many times. And I'm gonna totally steal this analogy. I was in a mentorship like cohort class, and he was using this analogy to talk about the process of like a relaxer, and how, you know, we all know, even though I technically never had a relaxer in my life, I've had a texturizer. But even that was like only a few times. So I'm going to speak on this, but you know, it really was never my experience. But you know, nonetheless, we all can relate because we've watched someone get a relaxer if you haven't had one yourself. But you know, you put that relaxer in your hair, you have to sit there for a little minute to make sure that it fully relaxes the curls, because if you get up too soon, you know, it's going to get kinky coily and not straight like you want it to be. However, we all know if you leave it in too long, it's giving burning. It's giving help us. It's giving fire, 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 follow me. So, you know, sometimes people get a little antsy in that chair. Like, are you sure it's not time to take it off? Because they've been burned before. And they're like, hold on. And so it's hard for them to trust the process and trust the stylist when the stylist is telling them, no, you still have a few more minutes to bake. Because they're worried and they're afraid because they are remembering being burned. And I think that that's so real when I think about the process of life, or the process of me becoming who I need to be, or whatever. Like, I've had these bad experiences in waiting for whatever I am to be, or for whatever is supposed to come to me. And so it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want out because this hurts. Like, I have experienced negative things, or things that have quote unquote burned me. And the reality is, like, God is not trying to burn us. He is, well, I said that. And then I'm like, well, two things. He's not trying to burn us, and in that he's not trying to hurt us. He's not trying to harm us. I said because he is trying to purify us, and that is by holy fire. So it is a little hot. It's just a little hot sometimes, but the goal is not for us to suffer and have pain. It is so that we become. So yeah, like we have to go through that, but it's fair to have trauma in the midst of that. But like, how do we acknowledge that in the process? And I don't know that I have the answer for that yet. I think the other reason why it's hard for me to like trust the process, and why it's like I just don't like it, is because potentially I love the end product more than I love the process. And that's really problematic. Like, I think about the best example I have is like going to the gym, and like, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent. And I really don't think it's because of the trend back to skinny. I think I've like wanted to be skinny for a while now. So don't shoot me. Hands up, don't shoot. Okay, I don't have all the curves and all the things for all the girls. I just need to be thin. And that's just what I want my ministry to be. So sorry about that. But I also want French fries. I really like them a lot. And going to the gym, not the best thing. It's really kind of annoying. And some days I'm like, you know, I feel accomplished after I go to the gym. And although I didn't necessarily enjoy the process of working out, I'm like, okay, I did it. I accomplished the thing that I said I was going to do today. And so that sometimes makes me feel good about myself. but like actually being in the gym and like lifting weights and doing my little walking incline and like all the things, it is just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. I just want to be skinny. Like, that's all. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. But I know that it's necessary, and I know that I have to. And that's where it gets really challenging, because we can't love the product more than we love the process. We can't love the end result more than we love what it takes to get there. Because if we fall in love with the product and not the process, we'll likely forget the habits that it takes to maintain what the end result was in the first place. Again, with the analogy of going to the gym, if I just get the product of being skinny, but I don't have the habits, I won't stay that way. And, that's been evident. I lost, 30 pounds last year, and I've gained about 10 back. Because, I have been somewhat consistent, but not anywhere near consistent as I was when I was, really seriously, on the journey to lose the weight. And that's really what happens when you do that. And the other thing that can happen when we love the product more than the process is that we could potentially manufacture a process to achieve the product and not have the stamina to keep up when we're put in the place where we need to produce. I know that is a mouthful, but essentially, if I manufacture a process and speed through or skip steps, then when I get to the place where I need to produce, where I need to run, where I need to keep up a pace, I will not be able to do that. I won't be able to produce because I didn't go through the process. If I, take Ozempic and don't go to the gym and then think I'm going to come back off of that and run 2 miles straight, it's not going to happen. I'm going to be on the floor, actually, and maybe cardiac arrest. Who knows? Because you don't have the stamina. You can't do it. And so those are just a few things of why it's really necessary to fall in love with the process. And so I know that, right? I know that in my brain, I need to love the process. I need to like the process, but also I don't. So what do you do with that, right? How do you cross the bridge to accepting, one, that it's inevitable, and to two, maybe I'm not gonna, no, I do think there's a certain level of falling in love with it. I was gonna say maybe I'll never fall in love with it and I'll just have to accept that it exists. But I think that that's where I'm at. I think I am accepting that the process is the process and it has to happen. But I think why it continues to be so challenging is because even though I know it's a thing, internally I'm fighting it because I don't want to be doing this. And so I do think there's a certain level of falling in love with the process that has to happen for you to really get everything out of it that you need to get out of it. And I think of the biggest process of all, salvation. That is a process, right? I am saved, I am being saved, I will be saved. There's this process that happens. We are justified when we accept the gift of salvation. He makes us righteous, and he justifies us. And then we go through the process of sanctification as we live and as we seek him and as we read his word and as we're filled more with the Holy Spirit, as we're transformed by the renewing of our mind, Romans 12, we are sanctified. We are being saved. It's a continuous thing that happens. We are continuously washed. And then we will be saved. We will be perfected when we see him in heaven. And that is the end, the final. I'm perfect. I'm with him, the end. And so even that is a process. And in that context, if you forfeit the process, you're forfeiting the promise. And how scary is that? That you cannot get to what you ultimately are after without this process. And I think that that's really powerful to think about in the context of life and all of these other things. If we're looking at our faith as the model or our faith as the guide for which the rest of our life flows, then that's it right there. And that should show us the importance of process and how much we need to fall in love with what that does in us and the work that it does in us. And so that all sounds lovely and dandy and beautiful and whatever. But again, how do I fall in love with the process? How do I get there? And how do I stay there if I'm going to be processing all of my life? How do I do that? I don't really know the answer to that question. But as always, I do have some ideas about what that might look like. And I think the first thing that comes to mind, again, not the most original thought, but in my mentorship class, we talked a lot about the pace of God and learning the pace of God and how that pace is connected directly to your existence and to process. And how it's really important to learn his pace and to stay at that pace so that you're not exhausted and so that you get to the place that you're supposed to be. And part of what it looks like to maintain that pace is learning how to say no. And we're just gonna take a pause right there because I know it's very hard and difficult and challenging for a lot of people to say no. I am one of those people. It is hard. There have been so many situations, especially when people ask me stuff in real time. Oh my God, I'll say yes or like give a positive response, and literally the moment the words spill out of my mouth, instant regret. Like, why did I even say that? Why did I even just agree to doing that? And then I feel bad because I've just committed to something, and then it's worse because now there's no way I'm gonna like pull out of it and like renege or not fulfill a commitment that I like just agreed to. So now I feel like I'm stuck. And that's just really problematic because if there are things that disconnect you or disrupt the pace that you're flowing in, then that's absolutely problematic. And so we have to learn how to have good boundaries. I am really bad at that. I'm getting better at that. And I'm getting better at like when I have said yes to something, feeling okay to say, hey, in the moment I thought that I was able to do this, but I really am not. And so like, I'm not gonna be able to do this because you have to honor that it's really important. And then I think the other thing in terms of like pace is just keep walking. The other thing that I'm stealing again that we talked about in this mentorship class is that fatigue is not an indication for resignation. And I thought that was a really powerful like phrase that he said to us, because just because you're tired and just because it gets hard doesn't mean you get to like stop moving and to just abandon what's happening. Like, in order to stay in the pace, you have to keep moving, you have to keep walking forward. And even like if you think about, again, I'm going back to working out, it is really hard for me if I'm like really tired or if I'm out of breath. Like, let's just say I just did a set or whatever, and I'm like really out of breath, I will literally like walk in a circle, because if I just like stand still and catch my breath, I'm not gonna want to do the next set. Like, it's just really, it's a lot more difficult once you broke the rhythm of what you're already doing. And so it's hard because you're tired and you really want to just lay on the floor, but you have to keep moving, you have to stay in motion so that you don't disrupt what's happening, and so that your body gets used to it, so that you're building up that endurance, so that you can, ultimately reach the end. I think about the verse that talks about, you'll reap if you faint not. Like, you have to keep moving, you have to keep walking. And I think the other thing is that faith is the thing that enables us to keep up with the pace and to keep moving, because ultimately, like, at that point, the things that should kick in us, not just, we're not talking about working out anymore, but just like the workout of life and being and living and doing and becoming, that faith kicks in that, okay, I don't have it right now, but his strength is going to help me complete this. And as long as I just keep moving and keep walking, like, he is going to help me get to where I need to go. And so I think that that's really a powerful thing to remember as well. And then I think the last thing that helps with pace is like your diet, right? Like, you have to eat. You can't keep walking if you're malnourished. You're going to literally faint. In the natural sense. And so if you think about that hypothetically or spiritually, you have to pay attention to what you're consuming and to what you're feeding your soul, what you're feeding your mind. Who are the people that are around you? What are their conversations like? Social media is a big thing, and that's a hard one because sometimes you just want to like unplug and for your mind to just be able to be in a different space, but like you don't recognize how much it can get in your soul and like influence you. The type of music that we listen to, and just everything. Like, what is your diet? What does your consumption look like? And even this year, that's like really been a charge I heard really pretty directly from the Lord, is that like I need to start to train my appetite, for more reasons than one, but like I need to be able to have an appetite that is sustainable for what's coming And like, it needs to be things that are healthy, and it needs to be not junk, and it doesn't need to be overconsumption, because I need to be able to sustain and survive and last on maybe something not little, but only what is necessary to get to where I need to go, because maybe only what is necessary is going to be available. And I mean that more ways than one too, because even as I think about just the world and everything that's happening right now, I mean, I'm a little Armageddon-ish. It's just how I am. It's also kind of how my father is. And so, like, do I have big bags of beans and rice and crackers and tuna and salmon and jerky and, you know, flashlights and all the things? Absolutely. I absolutely do. It's just what it is, because I want to be prepared for the time when I can't have no food. And I also want to be prepared for, you know, whatever the little 2-3 weeks, maybe longer, then I'm gonna have to board my windows and doors and close my house up and just sit in here. It might happen, but like, I have to train my appetite for that, because otherwise, starvation. And my body will just be like, please help me, somebody, anybody. So like, that's what it made me think about when I first heard it. But then I was like, from a spiritual perspective, like, train your appetite now so that you can produce what you need to produce in the moment that it comes. Eat the word of God and be around things that are feeding your spirit in the right ways, so that when it is time, you are full of the things that you need to have, and you've already trained yourself, you've already trained your diet, so that you don't want the other things, so that you don't even want or desire the junk that is going to be all around us. So that's pretty long-winded, but basically, you have to eat, and you have to eat the right things in order to maintain pace. So I think that's one way to, like I said, trust the process, or to learn how to love the process. And honestly, I think the other thing, I was struggling to think like, how do I love this process? But I think it's partly just this radical acceptance of humanity, and the fact that like, there is no perfection without process. And there is no like, you can't do it on your own, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And like, there has to be some kind of effort and stripping away that happens, so that we can get to where we need to go. And I think about like, especially in terms of like healing and like, just the mental health of it all, and unlearning behaviors and things like that, is talk about a process. I mean, my God, today, I'm gonna tell you, I've been in therapy for 4 years. Maybe this is going on 5. And even saying that out loud sometimes makes me feel a little ashamed, because I feel like people make you feel like, or maybe I make myself feel like, but I feel as though it's almost like, oh, you've been in therapy that long, like, what's wrong? Or like, maybe it's not working, because, you know, you should be further along, or, you know, you should have resolved some things already, or you should have let go of some things already. And I know that majority of people probably don't feel that way, but sometimes it is how it can feel. And like, sometimes I question like, okay, am I being enabled, or like, am I really making progress? But then I remember like, it took 20 years to build up all this stuff. It's not going to take 4 to tear it down. Like, you've lived how many years with these beliefs? You've lived how many years with this trauma? You've lived how many years with this pain? You've lived how many years with all of this stuff? Why do you think in 2 seconds it's going to be gone? That's just not how that works right there, honey. It's a lot of undoing. It's a lot of wires to uncross. And honestly, for a second, we couldn't even find the wires. We didn't even know where they were, because we were in the dark, like the dark. So the first step was turning the lights on. Like, we had to turn the lights on. We had to reorganize some things so that we could know, okay, this is over here, and this is over here, and that box is that category over there. Like, we didn't even know what all was in there. We had to take some inventory of what was there first. And how long does that take? I mean, imagine a garage full of stuff. I mean, just full of stuff. It's stuff everywhere. Everywhere. Some of it's in boxes, some of it's not in boxes, some of it's framed. Like, imagine sorting through all that stuff. And then once you sort through all of it, you got to figure out what you're keeping, what you're getting rid of, what you want to give away, what you want to burn. Like, that's literally what it is to go through healing and like rewiring. That's what it feels like, at least. And that is a frustrating process, but it is so necessary. And I'm not willing to not go through it, even though it's not the most fun thing in the world. And I also was reminded, like, my therapist always tells me, like, you always show up. Like, I think I've missed therapy like twice in the 4 years that I've been going. So again, it's not a commitment issue to the process. It's just the hemming and the hawing of it all. And I want to be better about getting all that I can get out of something, because I think your expectation really sets you up for your experience. Like, even though you might go through something and you might commit to it, like, your experience while you're in it could be really poor. And like, I want to experience joy. Like, that's one of my themes. So I have themes for my goals. I have categories. So like finances, health and wellness, whatever. I don't know the other categories. I could probably tell you, but I can't think right now. But anyways, I have categories. And then for the categories, I have themes. So like, I think for the health and wellness, it's healthy habits. And then I think for like my personal goals, it's find the joy, because I have all these things that I want to do and that are goals for me, but they just feel like a task and they feel like a hill to climb. And I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel that way about this podcast. I don't want to feel that way about like my responsibilities in church. I don't want to feel that way about like some of my relationships. Like, I just want to feel, and I know everything's not rainbow and sunshine, so I'm not saying that, but I want to feel joyful. I want to feel grateful and like honored to be doing these things. And so I think part of how you find the joy is learning to love the process. Because otherwise you might go through it, but it'll be begrudging. And who wants to do that, right? Like, I don't want to, and I've said this in my prayers, like, to the Lord, I don't want to like follow you. Like, yes, I want to follow you out of obligation and obedience, but I don't want to only do it that way. I want to do it with joy. I want to serve the Lord with gladness. I don't want to just be here like, oh, fine here. Like, what kind of offering is that? He doesn't want that from me. That's not what he desires. And I don't want to give that to him. I want to be happy and grateful. But that's kind of hard. And so I think that this is my conviction currently, and this is my confession. These are my confessions. That I need to figure out how to learn to love the process, or else I don't know that this is going to get any easier to like go through. And it doesn't get easier because like the tasks and the responsibilities, they're not decreasing at this point. That's just what it is. And so I better learn. I'm not going to say quick, but I better learn, because it's going to be tough if not. So yeah, that's what I have. I don't know. Let me know what you think about the process and what your experience is. Feel free to tell me in the chat, or you can DM me. I'm curious to know kind of what other people's experience is and what some of your struggles are, what your confessions are around the process, so we can kind of have the conversation together. And I think the last thing I'll say about it is that I guess I just don't want it to be like a catchphrase, right? Like, I don't want to say trust the process and I'm trusting the process and like I'm actually not fully surrendering to it. Like, I want to really lean all the way in. And so that's going to be a goal of mine as we move throughout the rest of this year. I think that's going to be really important, especially in this year as we prepare for whatever is, happening, and for whatever the Lord has for us to do and for us to receive, because I think there's a bit of both. I think there's working and a responsibility, and I think there is gift and blessing. And I think they are both in front of us, and we have to do one to get the other. And I'm eager to get this right. So yeah, that's what I have to say. And I'll see you next time on another episode of Couch Confessions. Welcome to the couch.